Hi, my name is Keri Ray Barnum. I am here for Free Advice Fridays, the hour every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern. We talk about publishing, writing, being an author, and the business of that. We answer your questions live. You can join us at newshelves.com/FAF. We also stream on Facebook, and we put up our replays on YouTube on Mondays. And we have also started doing a recap and hot topics on our blog as well, which is just on newshelves.com. So lots of ways to join us, and we always invite questions both live but emailed in as well. You can email questions with an S at freeadvicefridays.com, and we answer those questions throughout our session. And now let's get started. Our first question here is from Walt, and he says, I currently use MailChimp for my newsletter, which rates newsletter recipients from 1 to 5 stars, with 2 stars being both new subscribers and low activity subscribers. The email works. It's a good subscriber in the sense that the email works, but if they are not actively opening or if it's being treated like spam, it lowers that rating. Should I cull or archive 2 stars that don't show recent activity? Alternately, should you send out a newsletter to the 2 stars and ask them about their subscription? So you can handle that a couple ways. I would be careful about just archiving those 2 stars because, as you said, it does that to new signups, someone who hasn't had an opportunity to open many of your emails. It will rate as a 2 star. So you don't want to cull someone who just got onto your list. What I would do is either send just the 2 stars an email. Maybe it's a survey, we want to give you more of what you want, or maybe it's a freebie to see if even with a freebie in that headline, are they opening it? And then consider. But I would also, again, give people a good solid 2 to 3 emails before you take that star rating too much into account. I mean, if you have signups on your newsletter that you got back in October, but you've sent no newsletter, well, then they haven't had an opportunity to raise their rating there. So I think that it's a nice rule of thumb, and there's a rule of thumb as far as that's what it's there for. And the reason why you would cull, because it does actually matter, the reason why you would cull, if it's seriously someone who's just not paying attention, when you send a campaign and you're getting consistently low open rates, your email can be considered more and more like spam. So it is important that we're not sending out to a big list and getting no responses, but it's not something that I'd worry over much about, especially for new subscribers. Certainly if people are responding, and what I do is every once in a while I get someone who will respond back and they'll complain about the newsletter, or they'll say, why am I getting this? Or they'll say whatever. And I simply say, well, if they're just complaining, sometimes I just take them off and it's fine and we're all happy. But if they're saying, why am I getting this? I'll say, oh, well, you signed up when you did this. Would you, you're well, I'd love to have you stay, but if you'd like to unsubscribe, there's that button. And so there are, ways to do that diplomatically. And so it's an option out there, but I wouldn't worry too much about that, especially for newer subscribers or if you haven't been sending a lot out. Are there some suggestions you have for targeting both Kobo and iBook readers? Yes. So if you are trying to specifically reach outside of Amazon, there are there are special, there's Kindle daily deals, and there are similar deals that are available through Kobo, through Barnes & Noble, and through iBooks, where you can submit for discount deals and special promotions through them. So that's an option that you can look into and try to submit there. And if you already have a deal and you're just trying to target them, I think one of the best ways to do that is through Facebook ads. But in your Facebook ads, you want to very specifically target not just your normal things. So if you have a book that is all about Japanese fantasy and samurais and things like that, well then yes, you want to focus in on people who have those interests. You want to focus in on readers like Goodreads or BookBub. And you also specifically want to focus in on people using Overdrive, Kobo. If it's iBooks, you want to focus in on phone users, on people who like Apple iTunes and different things like that. So make sure that you're creating an audience that seems to lean more towards that platform. And then in your ad, which does not have to be a lot of money, you can do $1 a day. In that ad, specifically link to iBooks or specifically link to Kobo. And when you do that, tell people, if you haven't read the newest and greatest book on iBooks, here's your chance. Specifically call out the platform in your description. You can, when you can like customize the actual button, you can say read on Kobo and different things like that. So you are specifically calling out and to their attention the platform that they like to read, and then you're directly providing the link there so that they're getting directly to where they can purchase and where they can read, which is what they want and what they, it's convenient. People don't want to have to click 5 times to buy a book. We want to click twice, if that. And so that would be my advice, is you can do a lot of targeting that way on Facebook and on social media. Let me see. I had another question emailed in here. Oops, not that way. All right. Hi, Aileen. Okay. I am close to completing my first book. It is sports nonfiction. As a first-time author, I do not yet have a literary agent, but plan to look for one soon. How many questions does one, or queries, sorry, how many queries does one typically send out to find an agent? And can you recommend a good source for the appropriate contact info? Probably the most popular platform for finding an agent is going to be querytracker.com. And Querytracker is something, it is, I think there's a free option, but it's also subscription based. And you can kind of track all the agents. You can find people who are directly looking for clients to represent at the moment, because just because someone's an agent doesn't mean they're actively looking for clients right now. So that does put the option up there. And as far as how many queries, it is so different. For some people, they're like, yeah, I queried my top 10 and I got one. Sometimes you hear people querying 60, 100 or more agents before they find a really good fit. The more niche your book is, the harder you'll probably have to look, because even if an agent is like, man, this is a good book, it's a really good book, but it's not something that I usually represent, or I don't know who I'd sell it to. Those are probably two of the biggest things that you'll get responses from. If someone asks for a full manuscript, if they're like, I love this book, I'm so excited for you, but I cannot represent you, usually the answers you get is because either the person says, I don't know who I'd sell it to because it's that niche, or this isn't in my wheelhouse and I'm afraid I don't have the contacts. And the important thing to remember there is that's not saying that your book's not good. It's not saying your book won't get published. It's them saying, I simply don't have that contacts. If all I do is nonfiction, textbooks, let's say, then I've probably got great relationships with college presses and with some of the nonfiction presses out there, and that's who I can pitch to. But if you bring me historical fantasy fiction, I can think it's awesome. But if I don't talk to those buyers or purchasing editors, and I don't talk to those people, I simply am not a good fit for you. And also keep in mind, sometimes people just don't like your book. You will sometimes get requests for a full manuscript and then get a no. You've got to keep trying, because there's a lot of people querying and only so many agents and so many books that are going to get traditionally published in a year. So I would fully expect to send out many queries. Over 50 to 100, I think, is kind of like a minimum of what you're looking for your first book. And also keep in mind to give yourself a timeline. That's what I tell a lot of people when they're like, well, I don't know, I want an agent. I really want an agent, but I don't know when to say, okay, this is not going to get picked up for traditional publishing. I'm going to self-publish because I do believe in this book and I want to get it out there regardless. What I typically tell people is set your priorities. So if you really want to try for an agent, okay, then do it. Give yourself that opportunity, but give yourself a timeline. Tell yourself, I'm going to query and put my all into querying for 6 months, a year, whatever it may be. And in the meantime, while you're querying, start writing your next book, because that is how you make money as an author. That is how you get sometimes agent attention, is that you have more books in the pipeline. So that is something that is a ongoing partnership rather than a one-stop, you one-hit wonder. But give yourself that timeline. I'm going to query my book all through 2022. If it doesn't sell in 2023, I'm going to make moves to self-publish. And that way you're kind of giving yourself the opportunity to be all in with traditional publishing. And if it gets picked up, amazing. But if it doesn't, and you're like, I just want the book out, you can still do that. I don't think that you're missing out on anything there, and you kind of hit both options. And that's what a lot of people do. Yep. And best way, Bob is saying, and Bob, of course, has gotten an agent and he has several books out. So we'll listen to his wisdom here. Best way to land an agent is publishing in newspapers or magazines that would attract an agent. And that is so true. Writing short stories in newspapers or magazines, doing short little pieces in places that would attract an agent or would attract your audience and an agent. Building your platform. There's so much you can do while you're querying to kind of, it's not, I'm going to query and do nothing else. It's, I'm going to query and build my platform and start writing that next book. You kind of build, you don't want to get to this point of your author career and halt everything while you wait for an agent. You want to get here, reach out for an agent and keep on building, because that is what will make you successful in the long run. And that's the best use of your time overall, because time, unfortunately, is limited and we only have so much of it. So we've got to make the most of it when we can. Let me see. Pat, if you would please email me, I will be happy to respond to that. All right, Miss Nancy. Let's see. Advice on the topic of Amazon reviews. Our new book, Breath is Life, has been placed on Amazon and Barnes and Noble via Itasca book distributors. I can't talk, and not an individual author. Can we encourage friends and family to write reviews on Amazon, even if they have had purchased the books at the book launch rather than on Amazon? Yeah, so let's talk about Amazon reviews. Number one, you cannot leave a review on Amazon until the book is live. It does not matter if it was put up on KDP by a single author or if it was put up on pre-order through a distributor. No one can leave an Amazon review on Amazon until the book is live. So let's keep that in mind. If you're ushering people to go leave the review and the book is still on pre-order, they won't be able to. As far as who can leave a review, I do have a full video on how to leave a review on Amazon that also covers everything like, do I have to buy the book on Amazon? And the answer is no, you do not have to buy the book on Amazon to leave a review on Amazon. Anyone can leave a review on Amazon as long as they have an account in good standing. And as far as Amazon is concerned, an account in good standing means that you have spent at least $50 in the last year on products, not subscriptions. So you can't be like, well, I have an Amazon Prime subscription that I got for $129, so I'm covered, right? No, I'm afraid not. But if they've spent $50 in product and they have no black marks against them, Amazon hasn't previously said you're doing shady stuff or anything like that. They can, in fact, leave a review on Amazon. And again, on YouTube, if you go to youtube.com/newshelfsbooks, we do have several. We have a lot of videos on there, but I do, if you search review, there's a video specifically for Amazon reviews and Barnes and Noble reviews and how you can leave those online without actually buying the book from those platforms. Now there is something that you bring up, Nancy, about a verified buyer. And a verified buyer, the difference is that a verified buyer has actually purchased that book on Amazon. They can track that sale. They know that person has bought the book. It is verified because they know they've actually bought and hopefully read the book. And as far as how it matters, verified buyers tend to float to the top. So sometimes you'll be looking at Amazon reviews and they are not in chronological order. They're not, this person left one April 1st, then April 2nd, then April 3rd and 4th, and so on. It doesn't go that way. It will show like the top reviews, top positive, top negative, and you can sort them, but naturally they don't show up that way. And what happens is those verified buyers that Amazon can for sure say, we know this person bought this book because they bought it on our platform, gets a verified buyer sticker, and their review tends to float to the top because Amazon views it as more trustworthy because they can verify the product was actually purchased. So it does matter, but that doesn't mean that people who have bought the book directly from you or other places or read it at the library shouldn't leave an Amazon review. It just means that it is weighted a little bit differently. Let's see. And then how do we encourage friends to write reviews? The best way, ask, simply ask. When you launch the book, launch with excitement, tell everybody about it. If people pre-bought the book, reach out to those people specifically, reach out to the people who did come to your in-person launch event and say, so many of you supported us, you bought the book and we appreciate it so much. And now we're asking for just one more favor. And that is, if you enjoyed the book, if you loved it, would you please go leave a review online, not on Amazon, online. And then you can list all the places they can review books. And so you simply ask. And when you launch the book, you tell everyone at large the book is available. And then it's okay to follow up a week or 2 weeks later and say, I need your help. Authors live and die on reviews. It makes a huge difference. And so again, your support was amazing. And I'm asking that if you love the book, please go rate and review it. It helps other people find this book that we think will change their lives. And it also means that, we get that credibility online. I think sometimes authors are afraid to ask for reviews. So they get really creative with it, thinking, well, maybe if I kind of make it a game or something like that, people will leave reviews. And sometimes that works, sure, but you don't always have to incentivize people. You just have to be honest with them. And if this is your true community and they want to support you and they have indeed bought the book and they've read the book, then a lot of times they will leave reviews if you ask them, and make it simple. Make it simple. No one wants to write a book report, right? I love writing. I hate writing book reports because it feels too much, too heavy. Who wants to do that? But if you say, this does not have to be long. A couple sentences is awesome. And these are questions I typically ask just to get your brain flowing. Number one, did you like the book? Number two, what was your favorite part? And number three, would you recommend this book? If you take your answers, you squish them together, you've got a great review. I loved this book. I think it's so important to remember that our breath controls so much of what we do. And I highly recommend it for anyone looking to center themselves in 2022. That's a great review. It's 3 sentences. I thought of it on the fly in less than 5 minutes. So not everyone is as full as hot air as I am. However, I think most readers can probably come up with that. And then they just type it and put it up on Amazon, which again, that video that I put from YouTube over on our chat shows you how to do that. It takes less than 5 minutes. It's really not hard. So ask your community for their support. It's something easy that they can do. It takes a little bit of time. That's right. Hot air and sunshine, at least. Careful, Randy. My soapbox might come out. Let's see. All right. And then don't forget, those editorial reviews. Let's not forget that you can get your editorial reviews up on your Amazon page, and you do not have to wait until the book goes live for that. Those editorial reviews, as soon as your book is up on pre-order, you can go onto Author Central, claim your author profile, and through that author profile, you go to the books tab, you claim your book, And you can, from there, list your editorial reviews from Forward and Kirkus and all the other great places. You have those options. And I have guest written an article for Nest Graphica that is all about Author Central. It's a long article, but it's got a lot of pictures and it really takes you step by step on how to do things like getting those editorial reviews up. So if you are looking for ways to really make sure and make your Author Central page shine, to make sure that you're making the most of all of your opportunities on Amazon, I recommend that article because it's what I do. It's my process. And that's what I did. I set up a new author and I was like, oh yes. And then I did this and then I did this. And so I do recommend that article if you're kind of looking to make sure that you're doing the most that you can on Author Central and for Amazon with things like those reviews. All right, we had another email. Let me see. Yes, so I had a question that came up yesterday, and it was about ISBNs. ISBNs, if you've bought them recently, it used to always be that in the US, typically when you bought ISBNs always started from the US, from Valker with a 978. Valker is now selling ISBNs in the US that start with 979. It is normal. I had a couple of people buy ISBNs recently and they're like, it's 979. What does that mean? And so I asked Valker and they were like, it just means that we're selling 979 ISBNs in the US. So do not be surprised. Do not be alarmed if you go to buy ISBNs anytime now or in the future, and it starts with those three numbers, either 978 or 979. They are both legitimate. They are both normal. It is still a US ISBN. It's just what they're doing now. So no worries there. It's always good to know if things are hitting what they should be. Let me see. The next question I had was about your title. So we talked a little bit before about how your title has some of your best keywords in it. And it does. Your title and your subtitle have some of your strongest metadata keywords, right? And so it's important when you're deciding on a title, how that affects your keyword search and are you using it well? And especially this question came up about how you name how you title a book. How much does it matter? And does it matter for different genres? And yes, your genre does matter with your title. For example, if you have a nonfiction title, you are much more likely to have a subtitle with a lot of keywords in it. It's not enough to say, this is a leadership book, so let's call it leadership book. I know it's lame, but we're going to go with it. Leadership book is the title, but then the subtitle needs to be a immersive outline of how young leaders can step up in the workplace. Well, we've just gotten a lot of keywords in there: workplace, young leaders, leadership. And so you'll see that more often with nonfiction titles where it is much longer. You also tend to see a lot of bigger subtitles on children's book because we don't want to just know that it is the Mighty Ninja. We want to know that it's the Mighty Ninja, a book about being kind and treating others politely. That's totally wrong, but I was going with it. It is something that for children's books, you're typically looking for something more specific. So it is not uncommon to see those subtitles. However, when you are doing something like fantasy or romance, you are not as likely to see those subtitles. Sometimes you will. You may see a clean romance or a sweet historical fiction or a erotic fantasy, whatever it is. But more often than not, they are working those keywords really strategically in those series, mystery, fantasy, those kind of things, they are working them into the title itself, and they're also working it into the series name. Your series name is one of your top metadata keywords as well, so think about it carefully. That is a great way to brand yourself, and it's something that people will search. And when looking at those series and those kind of fiction genres, kind of take a look at what is trending in titles. For example, if you're working in thrillers, very short titles are popular. Sometimes one word, 3, maybe 4 words, nothing too lengthy. If you are talking specifically romance, you will see a lot of I call them hot button words, something like ignite or fire or boyfriend, girl next door. These things are showing up in our titles. And you will also notice that tropes show up in titles a lot in romance. Whereas if you were talking about fantasy, it's very often, fantasy and sci-fi, very often one word and one word only. And it's not a word that necessarily is common. It could be made up. Could be made up from your language, but then the series title tends to tell you a lot more about what's going on. So if you are looking for title inspiration, go check out the bestseller list, go see what's trending for your genre specifically. Just because you like a title does not mean it's a good title. I was laughingly talking to a client yesterday because we are about to publish his 3rd book, and we've worked together on well, he's got many books, but in this series we're about to publish the 3rd book, and we've worked together on the 1st and the 2nd book. And the 2nd book, he's like, this is the title, and I said, no, it's not. And he's like, really? I think it's a really good title. And I was like, nope, it's not gonna work. And he was like, well, I think you're wrong. And I was like, well, let's ask somebody else. And we did. And he blind copied me on it. And the person was like, what are you thinking? That's not your title. And so I felt a little vindicated, but I tried to not, crow about it too much. We completely laughed about it later because it was a clever title. However, it was so clever that you would not understand that title until the end of the book. And you would need a dictionary. That's not the kind of title that's going to grab people who know nothing about your book or series. So I will tell you, because it's not the title, I will tell you what he wanted it to be. This is a thriller series. First, I have to look up the exact meaning of it. All right. So the title of the book that this author wanted to title their book was Cupidity. 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 Yes, I sound like I'm on a spelling bee. And so the meaning of cupidity, I thought it sounded like a stupid Cupid or something like that. I don't know. But the meaning of cupidity is greed for money or possessions. And this book was kind of a legal thriller that had a lot to do with greed and money and stuff like that. So very clever. It fit. The word cupidity never made it into the book. And I'm just going out on a ledge that unless we have some very smart ace those SAT people out there, that the average person does not know what cupidity means. And it wasn't something that was easy to portray. It was not something that really fit with what a lot of thrillers are being titled. It's not the easiest to say. And so it wasn't a good fit. We came up with something else, and it's gotten lots of attention, and we've gotten a lot of reviews. He got a book bub. So your title matters, and clever is cute, but cute is not necessarily what you want on your book title. So sometimes you get so creative that you shoot yourself on the foot. And I hope that you have people around you to lovingly tell you that. And now he does laugh, and he's like, well, I guess you're right. And I was like, well, we never know. his could have sold better than the other title, but listen to people when they're like, I haven't read your book and that doesn't tell me anything. Or it doesn't fit, or it's hard to say, because typically people aren't just trying to stomp on your dreams and your amazing titles. They're not just out there to just bash you down, especially people that love you or who are working with you. So make sure that you kind of take that into your thought process. I read a post in an editor's group this morning asking, did you know the actual past tenses are snowed and snoo? It snoo last night. And if you look it up, it's in the dictionary. Well, the dictionary is stupid. That is funny. I did not know that. I did not know that. I don't think I'll be using snoo anytime soon. However, living where I do, there will be plenty of chances. So maybe I'll like try it out and try to sound super smart and see where it gets me. Probably not far. Let's be honest. That's hilarious. Words are funny indeed. All right, a couple more questions. We've got jokes over in the chat bar. This is why you join us live. It's for the chat, and it's for the chat pane, because you do not get to talk with everybody if you just watch on Facebook or the replay, and it's hilarious. All right. Yes, so can we use Author Central if we're using a book distributor? Yes. Author Central is in fact a feature that is for the author. It's not something the publisher has access to or controls. It is something that is for the author only. So the author of the book is the one who creates that account and claims the book. Doesn't matter who is distributing the book, or if it was put up through KDP or through Itasca or Pathway or anywhere else. It depends on the author. So you do have access to that, or Lori will, Nancy. All right. I'm going to self-publish my second picture book in the spring. Refresh my memory. What are the pre-launch steps I need to take before I release? I also remember you saying you didn't think pre-orders were a good idea. Well, that is a mixed bag. Number one, if you go to the New Shelves website in our store, we have a publishing marketing timeline and checklist, which I think might be helpful for you. Let me grab the link somewhere over here. Keep adding things to our store. I'm just like, oh, that would be great. Let's do that. So we have two things. We have a marketing timeline, which is free in our store. You can go grab that for free. And then we have a publishing checklist, which is 99 cents. So it is $1, but once you have it, you have it. It's a download that you can use over and over again. And I think $1 probably well spent there. So let me grab that link. And for those of you watching the replay, if you just go to newshelves.com, our store is right there and you can find these. It's the checklist and to-do list for publishing and the marketing timeline. Marketing timeline, again, is free, and the checklist and to-do list for publishing is 99 cents. And that's a good list to get you started. As far as the basics, the basic is, you know, you get your writing done, you get your illustrations done, you get your editing done, you get your files. Are you submitting for pre-publication reviews? Are you submitting for a school library journal review or a Kirkus review or Midwest review of books? And if so, you need to do that approximately 4 to 6 months before your book launches. So that takes some planning ahead. As far as you need to start marketing your book and telling people that it's available, are you getting beta readers? Are you creating a ARC team who is willing to read in advance and leave reviews? You absolutely need to be able to tell your audience when it's available. So that second book will look different than the first book in some ways, but it depends on the type of book and what you specifically have goals for. If your goal is just to get it up and out there, get some reviews on it so you can start pushing Amazon ads because it's a kid's book and that's how you sell books, then do that. You may not necessarily want to sit and wait on the chance of those big professional reviews, but I can't make that call for you. I think it's always a good idea to submit for professional reviews. It's free. And if you get a hit, it can make the difference of your book doing well or not. And so I think professional reviews just make sense. However, I know there are some people who, I have this one author, been saying it for the last 3 books, by the way, healthy as a horse, but a little bit older. And he always says, well, I might not live that long, so I just want to publish my book. And so he doesn't wait for reviews, and that's his personal goals and choice, and that's okay. So we do what we can without them. But if you are looking for the long game and you're looking for some big hits, I do think submitting for professional reviews is smart. We do have the professional reviewer list for free on the New Shelf store as well. If you've not been in the store recently, it's got lots of options and things that are up there. And if you didn't read, we did have a Thanksgiving post. We had a Thanksgiving post on our blog. If you didn't read it, there was a code for a freebie in there that is helpful for social media. So if you didn't read our Thanksgiving post on the blog, you may want to go check it out for special freebies. I'm the best at winking, right? Because it's up there, and so take advantage. All right. Oh, have you and your followers come across a great resource for beautiful and reasonable boxes for shipping a 7x9 book? Nancy, more often than not, when clients are shipping books, tends to be bubble mailer is what I see most often, because you can do it by media mail and it's cheap. As far as boxes, I have before gotten some off of Amazon, but you just need to make sure that you've got the right size for it, because boxes, of course, you want to make sure that if you're using a box, that it is snug enough that you're not moving too much and likely to bend pages and things like that, and not so loose that you have to put in a bunch of packing stuff, and not so tight that you're bending the pages to get in. So fit, in my opinion, is more important than anything when you're looking at boxes for shipping. And just make sure that you're looking at the possible cost of that, how you're sending it, if it's media mail, that kind of thing, because that can sometimes drive the packaging, is the cost involved. Yes, I saw this email and I'm going to jump on that one. All right. So we had someone, first time author, who used an indexer that they hired, and it came on recommendation. However, that index, when it came back, was filled with mistakes and words that don't make sense. This author had agreed to pay the person at the end of the job. And she tried, the indexer tried, but it's not a great product. How can I handle that? So you have a couple of choices. And I think most cases, especially if you can tell the person tried, they weren't trying to scam you. Let's put it that way. If you feel like the person really tried, I think it's always best to talk it out and work it out when possible. So I know that time is precious again. And so sometimes the time involved would be too much, but I think it's important to let that person know how you feel about the product and give them the opportunity to make it right. I noticed quite a few errors here. Can we talk and discuss this and see how we can get it fixed up? Or, asking them, a lot of these words are not making sense to me. Can you explain? Maybe there's a reason for some of that. That certainly happened to me in my line of work, where people are like, what'd you do? You're crazy. Why would you do that? And then when I explained, they're like, oh, okay, carry on. Okay. And sometimes it's simply, if it's not our knowledge base, there is an explanation. But if the person is correct and they did a good job, then they should have some really solid information and reasons for backing that up. And if they did a truly poor job, maybe something's going on and they are willing to make up for their mistakes, or maybe they'll say, hey, I had so much going on and I have to be honest, I didn't give you my best. I'm afraid I can't right now. I'm so sorry. And so, I'm so sorry. You don't have to pay me, but I can't do the job. I've worked with people. I've been that person. I've been that person who has had to say that sometimes. But I think we should always try to talk it out first, to be upfront, because it could be a really great relationship that you're losing if you don't try to talk it out. Now, if that person comes back and says, there are absolutely no mistakes, there are no mistakes and you're crazy, you have a couple of options. You can pay that person and move on because you agreed to pay them. You can ask for a discount based on work that you do not feel is up to par. You can also get a second opinion. You can take that index and, without throwing anyone under the bus, take it to another indexer or someone who has knowledge of this and share it with them and ask for their secondhand opinion. And then you can kind of use that. And if the person simply doesn't have the ability to create the index that you need, again, it may be something where you pay that person and you move on, and it's a lesson that was hard learned. I think sometimes that is very difficult, especially in the gig economy that we have, the age of Fiverr and things like that. Sometimes people think that their skill level is here, and it's here. Sometimes a person's skill level with the basics is here, but when you have a complex job, it falls. And I think sometimes that's just hard. And sometimes we learn hard lessons and expensive lessons. But I would start with trying to work it out and talk it out, ask for explanations, ask for, I found some errors. Can we talk? Can we look this over together? I am a huge fan of let's Zoom, let's look at this together so we can walk line by line of what something is or isn't. Let's look at it together so we can get on the same page. Yes, indexing, as Tara says, is an art form. It really is. And it requires a lot of attention to detail, and it requires a special person. And the more complex your needs are, the more complex that indexing obviously is. And that person may not be the best person. But again, sometimes that person may realize it as well and be looking for an out if you give it to them. So always go to the source, try to talk through it with them first is my, that's me, that's what I do. And I think in life, a lot of times when we give people chances and we give them opportunities, they at least try to make it right. All right. Yes, and Nancy has said that she has an amazing indexer that she is willing to share her references and resources if you are looking for a indexer. So if you would like that, I know that you're on today. If you would like that, if you email me, I'm very happy to share that recommendation with you. Thank you, Nancy. As always, you were a sweetheart. Thank you. All right. I am wondering if others have had difficulty getting books into the Apple bookstore. Historically, Ingram Spark made publishers sign the Apple agreement. I waited the 6 to 8 weeks that Ingram Sparks recommends. I never followed up, but my books are still not getting into Apple. I have 2 books already there, but wondering if others have had this difficulty. David, what I have noticed with Apple iBooks, and I'm seeing it on both Ingram Spark and on Draft to Digital, is it is taking a little bit longer to sync up that metadata, but I am also seeing them get much more picky about sending back books that have links to competitors. Anything that links back to Amazon, I've seen some links get sent back because it linked to social media. Apple seems to be getting more and more picky about having hyperlinks in a book that go outside of their sphere. We've seen that for a long time, like with Amazon and different things like that. they don't like you linking to their competitors. And so we are seeing more and more of that. So the first thing I would do is go back to your book and see if you have anything that would be hyperlinked in that ebook, and check and make sure that is not the problem. And if so, I would follow up. If you're using Ingram Spark, follow up with them as your distributor rather than going straight to Apple. Because then as your distributor, they may have gotten an error message saying, hey, it was this link. And so that's what I would do, is follow up with them first and follow through. But again, I have seen it quite a lot recently where it is the links in the book getting flagged. Yep, they do have links. They are cracking down. All right, advice on getting new paperbacks linked to Kindle editions. Used paperbacks are showing rather than the new US editions. Caroline, if you could either chat or put in the Q&A, are the new paperback editions, are they showing up linked at all and just not winning the top? Like it's what shows for sale, or is it not linked at all? Because we're seeing more and more of that. I actually had a client recently who their publisher, big publisher, was not winning the buy button on Amazon. And so it was a secondhand copy showing on their Amazon page, not the copy from a very large publisher, because of the way Amazon works with third-party sellers, which has been in the news lately because it is it's getting a little messy out there. And we're seeing third-party sellers, especially in the book market. We are seeing third-party sellers on Amazon. Now, if your book is up through KDP and Kindle, it almost always hits the top, and you've got that because Kindle wants to make the most money off of it. But if it is through a distributor, if it's through Ingram Spark, something like that, what is happening is that third-party sellers are undercutting. They are saying that they will sell the book for less, so they're winning the buy button on Amazon. So their book shows as the main book. Now, you still yeah. And so what's happening is you still get paid for the book, but you are getting paid less because they're buying typically through Ingram wholesale at a discount, and then they're reselling it. And in some cases, there has been a uptick, and they will win that buy button by undercutting to a point where they would lose money. So then what happens is a customer buys the book, and then it's a canceled order. And this has been happening more and more. We're seeing it again with some of the big publishers. So if you are on KDP, you don't typically have this issue, but if you're using Ingram Spark for distribution, or you have other book distributors, it can sometimes happen. Amazon is paying attention, especially when those orders get canceled, but sometimes you have to nudge them on that. So I think that may be something you want to look at. Now, if it's on KDP, so Caroline, I know your situation specifically is a little bit different because there's a publisher in the UK and then you are the publisher in the US, and it may be if they're linked on KDP, is simply going through and asking for the link on two places. On your KDP, asking for it to be linked as the main book on Amazon.com. Make sure you specify Amazon.com and make sure that it is the main paperback that shows up. And then also having the author go on through Author Central and say something as well, so that it's being notified that, you know, there are different publishers in the UK and the US, and this should be that one, and the US should be this one. That would be my recommendation. And I know that you know that it can be an uphill battle with this in particular. When you've got two publishers, it can be difficult. It is when it works beautifully, and when it doesn't, it can be difficult when you've got multiple publishers with the same book in different Amazon markets. What do you think about box sets for series? I'm thinking of putting together a discounted box set for my Bar Poem series. Do you have any recommendations? Yes. So I think box sets can be a great idea. It's a way to market something and get people to buy all at once. It's kind of the idea of you can buy one for 50 cents, or you can buy three for $1. And people are like, well, three for $1 makes them cheaper. I should just buy three now. Do I need three now? doesn't matter. I can get them cheaper, so I'm going to get 3 for $1. And so it goes in for that basic instinct of wanting a good deal. And it's a way to get all of the books in someone's hands all at once. So I think that it can be smart, especially when you are looking at ebooks specifically. Do be careful if you're doing ebooks, and if you're doing ebooks and you're doing a box set and your book is on Kindle Unlimited, do be aware that Kindle Unlimited stops paying you per page after a certain number. What is it? I want to say it might be like 750,000. So I mean, it's not so much probably for your bar poem series, but if you have mysteries or fantasy or something where you've got a big box set and you're doing it on Kindle Unlimited, just know they stop paying you after a certain amount. So you may not want to do a box set with your entire series. You may want to do, you may want to do something that's got like 2 or 3 books at a time and do box sets that way. But again, it can be a really great way to get your book out there. I say that you brand it and you put it up there, and it's not too much work. You're just kind of making it all flow together. So I think it can be a very smart idea. It's another opportunity. Do be aware though, and this one's big, do be aware that when you put up a box set, you're starting from scratch with reviews. So you have one more book to try and get reviews from, or for. So that can be a job in and of itself. Many times box sets, they either sell better or less. And I have found no rhyme nor reason, better or less. There's no in between, but it does get you into some of the more niche categories and the keywords for box sets and omnibus and all that kind of stuff. So I think why not if you've got a series, but it is more marketing work. So be prepared for that. Let's see, we published a second edition of a book. There are 3 reviews on Amazon from the first edition, which was self-published, commenting on poor design aspects. We've contacted Amazon multiple times to let them know the issues have been corrected and to request they be removed for the second edition, but we're not getting a response. In the past, I would have simply commented on those reviews to indicate the problem was corrected, but Amazon doesn't allow that anymore. Any suggestions on how we can minimize the effect of those 3 1-star reviews that have nothing to do with the current edition? That, my friend, is the beautiful rock and a hard place between syncing up those reviews and getting those reviews onto the new edition, but taking the good with the bad. And in my experience, Amazon will not take those down. They will not budge. If they're going to give you the reviews on the new edition, they're going to give you all of them, and they will not take any review down. What you can do is put it right in the description and say something like a beautifully redone second edition. Call it out right there, beautifully redone second edition. Those reviews will still be there, but people are pretty savvy, and in my experience, sometimes they do absolutely have it. And I would also say, if you can, getting reviews from people who say something like, I read this book in first edition and it did have some problems. I'm so glad that it's been fixed in the second edition. So clean, so well laid out, really impressed with this book. Because what that does is it addresses the elephant in the room and it says it's been fixed. As publisher, you can't do that, but reviewers can. And so kind of saying, yeah, we had some problems, but now it's good. Or putting it in, there's also a spot through Author Central that the author can put an author's note to the reader that goes not on all of their Author Central, but it goes on the page. So the author could also do a note, when I first published this book in 2014, I didn't really know what I was doing. Thank God I found Emerald Lakes Press. They have helped me re-release this book. It is updated, it is new, it's beautiful and perfect. I hope you enjoy. That is also something that you can do. And once those reviews kind of fade to the bottom and they're not such a big deal, that author's note can be removed through Author Central. So it may be something that you use for a little while to kind of work through that way. All right. I think, did we get all of our questions? We did. Look at us, right at 11:02. Let me just check Facebook and make sure I didn't miss anything there. Oops. Hang on, guys. I've got to go through my 52 tabs. I think we're good. All right. I think we're all good. I do plan to be here next week, 10 a.m. Eastern. I do want to let you guys know that I was called up for jury duty screening, so I may not. So watch your email. Hopefully we'll get the replay, but I will also post in our Free Advice Friday group if I do have to cancel for any reason. But so if you come and you're like, nothing's happening, she's not starting, is Keri alive? I am alive. I'm just doing my civic duty, but I do plan to be here, so we should be all set for next Friday, the 17th at 10 a.m. Eastern. I'll see you guys then, and if you have questions, just send them to questions@freeadvicefridays.com. Bye, guys.